everyone, my name is Aisha Ochuwa and I'm here to talk to you about licenses and intellectual property protection. When setting up a new business, it is important for you to procure every single license there is for the smooth running of your business. Note that where you need a license and you run your business without procuring that license you need, you will get in trouble with the law. You may get away with it for a number of months, for a period of time, but I promise you one day the law will catch up with you and it won't be worth the experience. So in order to avoid unnecessary troubles, get every license there is, procure every license there is, make sure your business checks out with the law. If you're in the jewelry business and you need to procure certain licenses, certain anti-money laundering licenses with the EFCC, then you should do that. If you're in the mining business and you need a mining license, please do that. Make sure you procure every necessary license you need, because the penalties for not getting these licenses are not worth it, I promise you. So let's break this down. What type of licenses do we need? Licenses are industry specific, but for the purpose of this conversation, let's break them down into the tiniest bits we can. The very first license that is general, that is common to every business in Nigeria, whether it's sole proprietorship, whether a partnership or a company, is the business operation license. This is a license issued by the Corporate Affairs Commission to even run a business in Nigeria in the first place. So if you're an incorporated company, a registered company, you must have your Corporate Affairs Commission certificate, generally known as the CAC certificate. A business name must also have a certificate to show that you are permitted by law to carry on a business in the first place in Nigeria legally. That is the very first license you should run after. That is the very first license you need to permit you to even start that business in the first place. The second type of license is the professional license. Now, this is a license that is applicable to professionals in different fields. They must first of all procure this license before they can legally carry on a business in their respective fields. For example, a chartered accountant must first of all have his or her ICANN, a certificate from the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria. A lawyer to practice in Nigeria must first of all be called to the Nigerian bar. The lawyer must have a call to bar certificate to be able to practice as a legal practitioner in Nigeria. Same applies to doctors, engineers, architects. You must first of all have your professional license. Without this professional license, you cannot legally carry on a business in Nigeria. So get your professional license if you are in specific fields that require this professional license. Get a professional license, get your CAC documents, the documents from the Corporate Affairs Commission before you start applying every other minimal licenses that will come along the line. The third type of license is the trade license. Now, after getting your business operation license and your professional license, there are certain types of trades that require certain trade licenses. For example, companies involved in the production and distribution of food items must first of all get their license from the National Agency for Food and Drugs Administration, popularly known as NAFDAC, before carrying on business in that line. Companies involved in transportation business must first of all obtain a road transport operator's license from the Federal Road Safety before resuming operations. It is important. Companies operating in the oil and gas sector must first obtain a petroleum exploration license from the Department of Petroleum Resources before carrying on business in the exploration and extraction of oil and gas resources in Nigeria. These are some trade-specific licenses that are important in carrying on your business. So after getting your business operation license from the Corporate Affairs Commission, after getting your professional license, you must then get the trade-specific license to enable you carry on your business successfully and peacefully in your different industries. Without these licenses, you will get in trouble with the law. Unnecessary trouble, avoidable trouble. Get your licenses. Be in the right path. You trust me, you don't want to be at the other side of the law because it is not fun. So avoid all of these unnecessary troubles. Get your licenses. Make sure your books are in check. Make sure everything is okay. Make sure you have your good standing with the law. That is the only way you can carry on your business peacefully in Nigeria without getting into any trouble. Before we dive into the different types of intellectual property protection, let us understand what intellectual property is. Intellectual property. Intellectual property. Something that came as a result of your creativity. Intellectual property is a creation of the mind that is personally owned, such as innovations, symbols, names, images, designs, literary or artistic works. Those are your intellectual property. Creation of your minds that are peculiar to you, that are unique to you. Thoughts that you came up with, ideas that you came up with, graphics that you came up with, different from what others have done. What a creation of your mind, literally. That is your intellectual property. Now, intellectual property protection, on the other hand, simply refers to safeguarding these legal rights that has been granted to an individual or a company by law, preventing others from using it without the necessary permissions, from copying, from exploiting, from profiting from those intellectual properties without the permission of the rightful owner. That is intellectual property protection. There are 4 classes of intellectual property protection in Nigeria, and these can be categorized into copyright, trademark, patent, and industrial designs. The very first one we'll be treating now is copyright. Now, most of us are familiar with the word copyright, but do we really understand what it's applicable to or what it is governed by? So copyright is governed by the Copyright Act of 2004, and it is applicable to the original literary works of authors such as books, music, and films. It gives them the exclusive right to reproduce, distribute, display, and perform their original works without interruption of other parties, and it prevents others from making use of these works in this same manner without the permission of the original owner. It covers literary works such as novels, computer programs, and cinematographic works. It covers artistic works such as painting, sculptures, wood carving, and the likes. It covers sound works such as recording. It also covers musical works of musical artists. So if your works fall into any of these categories, you can copyright your work, get your copyright certificate. The government agency in charge of the copyright protection laws is the Nigerian Copyright Commission, and they are in charge of the registration of copyright works, the enforcement of copyright laws, and the creation and promotion of copyright awareness for people who haven't protected their copyright works to do so, to prevent any future interference or infringement. Now, the reason for this protection is to help companies have a unique identity that prohibits others from making use of that same name, that same mark, that same logo, in order to avoid any form of confusion among customers. Trademark is regulated by the Trademark Act of 2004, and the governing agency is the Trademark Registry. Now, the trademark protection can be renewed indefinitely as long as the mark is still in use, it's still active and defended. So the work of the Trademark Registry basically is to process every application for trademark, to maintain the trademark register, and to provide information about all registered trademarks. So please, if you have marks to register, if you have a name you feel you need to protect, especially to prohibit others from making use of that name, unjustly, in order to prevent confusion amongst your customers, trademark them, make an application to the Trademark Registry, and make sure that name, that mark, that logo, that symbol is protected under your care. Now let's go to patent. Patent is an intellectual property protection that is granted to new inventions and technical innovations for a period of 20 years, after which it will be put back into the public domain. Now, the essence of this intellectual property protection is to prevent others from making, selling, or reproducing inventions without the permission of the inventor. It basically gives the inventor the exclusive right to the invention. It prevents every other person from making use of that invention for a period of 20 years until it is renewed, without the permission of the inventor. The agency responsible for granting of patents in Nigeria is the Nigerian Intellectual Property Office, popularly known as NIPO, and it is regulated by the Patents and Design Act of 2004. Now, please note that before a design will be protected under the Patent and Design Act, it must, number one, either be a new invention or an improvement to an already patented invention. Number two, be a product of an invention. Thirdly, it must have an industrial application. These are the only three ways under which a design will be registered under the Patent and Design Act. If it doesn't fall under any of these three listed points, then it will not be regarded as a patent and it will not be registered under the Patent and Design Act. You must then determine the type of patent you want. Do you want a design patent? Do you want a plant patent or a utility patent? These are the three types of patent protections we have under the law. Once this is sorted, you can go ahead and apply by submitting a formal letter to the Nigerian Intellectual Property Office alongside a detailed description of the invention, the scope of the invention, and any other accompanying drawing. After you have been issued a certificate, it is important for you to know that it applies for a period of 20 years, as earlier stated, after which it will be pushed back into the public domain and anyone can come from it. So it is important for you to keep record of your patents. Make sure that the 20 years have not lapsed. If it is approaching the time for it to lapse, then make another application to continue the protection. Now, the very last intellectual property protection we'll be discussing is industrial design. This is an intellectual property protection on the unique appearance of a product. It literally protects the design, shape, ornament, pattern, or a combination of two or more of these features. So basically, this industrial design protects, for example, if you manufacture this, it's unique to you, no one else has done this. What you'll be registering is an industrial design. It's a product. It's going to protect the unique appearance of these glasses. No one has done this. This is your design. This is a product of your mind. Therefore, you can have it protected under the Patent and Design Act. For such a design to be protected, it must first be registered under the Patent and Design Act. Now, this registration lasts for a period of 5 years, after which it can be renewed twice for 5 years each. So the first registration lasts for 5 years. After the 5 years lapses, you can renew again for another 5 years. At the end of the second 5 years, you can renew for the third time for 5 years. So the initial registration 5 years, after which you can renew twice for 5 years each. A total number of 15 years for an industrial design. Having said all of this, it is important for you to understand the type of intellectual property you want protected by law. After understanding that, after identifying that, you need to understand under which category it falls. Does it fall under copyright? Does it fall under trademark? Does it fall under patent? Or is it an industrial design? Once you have figured this out, please make every necessary applications to the appropriate bodies. Make your application, follow through, get your certificates. Make sure it is within the time frame of operation, because after the expiration of that certificate, your protection would not be sure. You need to remake the application. You need to do whatever renewal is applicable. Make sure your certificate is always up to date to prevent others from using your design without your permission unduly, to prevent others from benefiting from your intellectual property. Stay protected by the law. So follow through and make sure your intellectual property is protected by law at every point to prevent others benefiting from your mind work. Thank you.